Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. If you're watching this on my library channel when I have it up, thank you for subscribing. We have more trouble with Doctor Who because Doctor Who's new Time Lord creates a major TARDIS plot hole. Doctor Who Season 12 has made some major changes to the established timeline, including what appears to be a big plot hole concerning the TARDIS. Yeah. Apparently they're going to make the TARDIS always have been a blue police box, even though it was established in the very first episode back in 1963 that it was due to the chameleon circuit breaking. But let's read this article and see how they've screwed up Doctor Who now. Doctor Who Season 12 has introduced a new version of the Doctor and made some major changes to the timeline, seemingly creating a TARDIS plot hole in the process. Jodie Whittaker's sophomore season as the Time Lord has seen showrunner Chris Chibnall take some big swings with the established canon of Doctor Who. There's a new master played by Sachi Darwin, a new mystery to solve in the shape of the Timeless Child, and now a new incarnation of the Doctor hiding on Earth as a woman called Ruth Clayton, Jo Martin. While the first two were big, the latest is the most shocking reveal of all. There was an unknown version of the Doctor hiding on Earth as a human, thanks to a chameleon arch, complete with her own weapons, a gun rather than a sonic screwdriver. Oh, screw you, Chris Chibnall, and her own ship, which is of course a TARDIS designed to look like an old police phone box. That may be a common part of Doctor Who lore and thus not too surprising to see a Doctor with her own iconic ship, but it raises some big questions about where Ruth fits in in the timeline and how that relates to the first Doctor. Whittaker's 13th Doctor has no memory of ever being in the form of Ruth. Likewise, Ruth has no recollection of ever being Whittaker. What's more, Gallifrey still exists in Ruth's timeline, but not Whittaker's, likely ruling out her being from the 13th's future. And if that were the case, then why not simply wait to get there in a future season and a regeneration? Because they wanted to destroy all that was good with Doctor Who, and now they want to go with this new, the Doctor was female from her first regeneration story, because they can't take what was done before with male leads, because they need to disparage and destroy everything that came before, because they're all a bunch of dicks. But then again, I have to ask the question, how is that working out for you, BBC? What with how Doctor Who now basically going down in the ratings like a plummeting rock? This suggests that Ruth's Doctor is actually a forgotten virgin who came before William Hartnell, making her the real first Doctor. This could help explain why 13 has no memory of her, but also just why Ruth has a TARDIS. That's interior looks extremely similar to the one used by the first Doctor, a design that has changed over the years with the subsequent regenerations. There's one problem with that, however. The TARDIS only looks like a police box because the chameleon circuit broke when Hartnell's Doctor came to London in 1963, settling on the design that's since become so famous. So if Ruth is before Hartnell, why is the TARDIS already a police box? Because those working on the show and creating the new episodes didn't obviously care about the original Doctor Who and didn't care to even look back to find out that the police box didn't become the iconic look it was for the TARDIS until after the first episode back in 1963. But because Chris Chibnall doesn't really care about the past and just continues to keep, giving us this utter garbage and tripe that the BBC now calls Doctor Who, I wouldn't expect him to know anything about the original Doctor Who series because he's obviously just a dick who doesn't care anything more than try to play up to the SJWs and his fan base because he obviously thinks they're part of a larger group of fans that will support his stuff because obviously that's happened in the past with every other franchise that SJWs have infected. They've always supported these shows so much and not have these shows burned down in flames. There's no easy answer to that mystery. One possible explanation might be that Ruth is from a later point in the timeline. There's a gap between Patrick Troughton's second Doctor and John Pertwee's third that could potentially work, but Ruth having no knowledge whatsoever of the sonic screwdrivers suggests that that isn't the case. The sonic was introduced with the second Doctor. Doctor Who has a long history of retconning itself and showing that what we thought happened wasn't actually the case. Indeed, that's a defining part of Season 12 in particular, which has already changed Gallifrey's fate, brought a new master in, and positioned a mystery that changes the very existence of the Doctor, the Master, and the rest of the Time Lords. It's not impossible, then, that the established history of Hartnell's Doctor and his TARDIS isn't actually the truth of what happened. It's true we've seen Clara with the first Doctor, But again, little of the past can be assumed to be correct now given the big changes at Time Lord's history that are suggested in Doctor Who Season 12. Why do all these writers that praise what is happening to franchises that are infected with SJW politics, why are they so happy about it? They sound like they know that this is going to sell, but in reality it never does. I mean, let's see what they've done recently with Doctor Who. They've brought in a new master who's basically, as I've heard from others, basically no better than a background character, but now he's made to be the main antagonist of Doctor Who, the master. He just comes off as just an annoying secondary character that usually gets killed off midway through the plot, and that's supposed to be your main bad guy? Ugh. Either way, let's get back to what we were talking about here. The exact specifics, however, of how the TARDIS could have existed as a police box before the first Doctor and for him to be convinced of its different origin is another matter entirely. But perhaps something Chipnell has in store for the future of Doctor Who. After all, if there's a mystery hidden deep within the memories of the Doctor and the Master, then it's possible this TARDIS was changed too and could even factor into it. The Time Lords rewriting history isn't much of a stretch after all. Oh, I get it now. This guy is relying on the Time Lords and timey-wimey shenanigans to explain all of this. And he assumes the audience will still be around watching it to basically see how it plays out, even though every episode has been bad to just lame. I mean, what incentive do they have to stick around to see how this mystery box resolves itself? They're not enjoying any of the episodes, and every time people give their reviews on it, they're either erased or the reviews that are left behind are just saying that this show is dreadful. Why would anyone stick around to see how it resolves itself? No one will want to. But this guy assumes just because it's Doctor Who that the fan base will stick around to see how it all plays out. No. When fans aren't happy, they leave. And they find other shows that they do enjoy. Anything else would be far better than what Doctor Who has devolved into. Another big hurdle that current Doctor Who has to overcome is the fact that people remember Matt Smith. They remember David Tennant. They remember all of the good moments in Doctor Who. And when they look at what they're getting now, they see just trash, just utter garbage being fed to them. And they outright reject it because it's not what they want. Just give them good shows, BBC. Get out with the agenda politics and just stick to good sci-fi shows. It's not this hard to give us good Doctor Who. David Tennant's run on the Doctor was full of agenda politics, but they usually never took up the entire season like it's doing with the current Doctor. Instead of turning on an episode of Doctor Who and being entertained for an hour, no, we get talked down to by a bunch of people who probably don't even believe in what they're saying, who are probably just given a script by Chris Chibnall and told, say this on to the camera. And now you come in with this brand new Doctor that no one's seen before, who comes out of nowhere and even uses a gun. Basically, you're telling the people who used to love Doctor Who that their fan love of this show that goes back decades is worthless because the Doctor now uses a gun, something you would never do in past seasons. And if you're all going to yell at me because David Tennant used a gun in his final special, I know about it, but still, the Doctor doesn't use a gun. And you're telling us this new Doctor is the first Doctor? That means that William Hartnell, when we saw his performance, that was all a lie now. Thank you so much, Chris Chibnall. You've totally destroyed Doctor Who. Or rather, you've destroyed the first Doctor. And what's more, you can't even get it right with the TARDIS. God forbid you actually heed established lore. And not to mention, from a storytelling perspective, that means every Doctor after William Hartnell will be tainted with what you've now done to the lore. Because every time they'll look back on the first Doctor, they'll see what you've done and they'll cringe at it. This change to the Doctor did not need to happen. You did not need to destroy what came before just to basically prop up your new Jodie Whittaker Doctor. It did not need to happen. And you will be vilified by it by the fans, Chris Chibnall. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so make sure you are still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. Then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you also please share this video, share it on Twitter, share it on Reddit, and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it'll do the most good because YouTube is not going around promoting their own YouTube creators anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely, it's plug-in time again. Keep checking back in all my future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.